Today, we're doing a deep dive into a life that, well, fundamentally reshaped the 20th century, Adolf Hitler.
Absolutely. It's a story our sources show is filled with surprising dreams, deep failures, and this relentless, ultimately destructive ambition.
An incredible and chilling tale.
Indeed. Our mission here is really to pull out the key insights from the story of Adolf Hitler, the source we're looking at. We want to trace that path, from a seemingly ordinary boy with artistic hopes.
To a figure whose choices led to, well, global catastrophe, the aim is to help you grasp this quickly but thoroughly.
Exactly. Understanding the timeline, the impacts.
So let's start at the beginning. The source puts his birth on April 20th, 1889, in Braunau in Austria.
Right. And as a child, he's described as, well, not particularly special, like playing outside, drawing, imagining a big future, like lots of kids do.
But the family dynamic seems quite significant early on.
Very much so. His father, Alois, was reportedly quite strict. He really wanted Adolf to follow him into a government job, civil service.
But Adolf had other ideas.
Completely. He dreamed of being an artist. And his mother, Clara, apparently supported that dream, at least quietly. This led to quite a few fights with his father. The source mentions Alois dismissing art, saying, "Art is not a real job."
That must have created some tension.
Definitely set a conflict early on.
Then there's a sudden change. His father dies when Adolf is just 13.
Yes, Alois died suddenly. And you might think that removes the pressure, but the source says it left a hole in his heart.
And it affected his schooling.
It seems so. He was apparently a decent student before, but afterwards, his performance really declined. Became, well, the source uses the word lazy, but maybe disengaged is better. He only wanted to draw.
Almost like a retreat into that one passion.
Possibly. A way of coping, perhaps, as his world changed.
So school wasn't working out. What was the next step for him?
He headed to Vienna, the capital, full of excitement. Really believed he could become a famous painter there. He applied to the Academy of Fine Arts.
The big dream.
The big dream.
Yeah.
But it didn't go to plan.
He was rejected, wasn't he?
He was. Multiple times, actually. They essentially told him, your work is not good enough. Imagine hearing that, especially when you've pinned everything on this one ambition.
Crushing. The source mentions humiliation, devastation.
Absolutely. And this rejection, coupled with hardship, seems to have been a turning point. He ended up living in really difficult conditions in Vienna.
Tell us about that.
Tiny, dirty rooms, sometimes even sleeping rough on the streets. He survived by selling small paintings, postcards, that sort of thing, just scraping by.
And his mindset during this time.
The source suggests a growing disillusionment, a recurring thought of, why is life so unfair? And critically, his mother passed away during this period too, leaving him feeling very much alone and angry.
So more loss piled on top of the rejection and poverty.
Exactly. And this is where the source points to a shift. He apparently started to blame other people for his failures, rather than looking inward.
The externalization of blame? That sounds like a pattern forming.
A very significant one, yes. It seems to have become a core part of how he interpreted not just his own struggles, but later Germany's struggles too.
Right. So this period in Vienna shapes his anger and resentment. Then history intervenes in a big way.
It does. 1914 arrives, and with it, World War I. For Adolf, this wasn't just a global conflict. It was, perhaps, a chance.
A chance for what? Meaning purpose.
Exactly. A chance to finally be part of something big, something meaningful, after years of drifting and failure. He joined the German army enthusiastically. The source quotes him feeling, finally I am part of something big.
And how did he fare as a soldier?
He served quite bravely, actually. Worked as a message runner on the front lines, which was incredibly dangerous. He even received 2 medals for bravery.
So he found some validation there, but then Germany lost the war.
And that hit him hard, really hard. He was furious when Germany surrendered in 1918. He felt, along with many others, that our leaders betrayed us. The whole stabbed in the back idea.
So that sense of betrayal resonated deeply.
Deeply. He became convinced Germany needed someone strong, someone decisive, to lead it back to glory.
And Germany itself was in a terrible state after the war.
Utter chaos. The Treaty of Versailles imposed huge burdens. The economy collapsed. There was poverty, hunger, and just this simmering anger over the defeat and the humiliation.
A perfect storm, really.
Precisely. People were desperate for answers, for stability, for pride. And into this vacuum steps Adolf. He found his way into a small political group, the German Workers' Party.
And this is where things really start to change for him politically.
This is where he finds his voice. He discovered he was an incredibly powerful speaker. His words were apparently full of anger, passion, and crucially, promises.
What kind of promises?
The core message was simple and powerful. Germany will rise again. It tapped directly into that national feeling of grievance and desire for restoration.
And he quickly took charge of this small party.
He did. He rebranded it the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the Nazi Party.
And he designed their symbol.
Yes, the swastika. He created that striking red flag with a black swastika and a white circle. He reportedly declared it would be the most powerful symbol in the world. He understood branding, you could say.
He certainly knew how to capture attention, but his ideas were becoming increasingly dangerous.
Extremely dangerous. He started systematically blaming specific groups, Jewish people, communists, others, for all of Germany's problems. His vision was for a Germany only for Germans.
So he offered hope, but it was built on hate and division.
Exactly. He gave people someone to blame for their suffering, the lack of jobs, the inflation, the war reparations. He essentially said, it's not your fault, they are to blame. It was insidious, but effective for mobilizing anger.
This led to his first major attempt to seize power, didn't it? The beer hall putsch.
That's right. In 1923 in Munich, he tried to forcefully take control of the Bavarian government. It was a complete failure.
He was arrested.
Arrested and jailed. He only served about 9 months, but it was a crucial period.
Why crucial?
Because in prison, he wrote Mein Kampf, My Struggle.
Which wasn't just a memoir.
Not at all. It was his political manifesto, his blueprint. He laid out his vision for a powerful Germany, his racial theories, and explicitly identified who he considered the enemy.
And the book became popular?
Surprisingly so. The failed putsch had given him national notoriety, and the book spread his ideas further. When he got out, he focused on rebuilding the Nazi Party, this time aiming for power through more legitimate means at first.
Which eventually worked. Fast forward to 1933.
A seismic shift. Against the odds, and through political maneuvering and popular support, Adolf Hitler is appointed Chancellor of Germany, the nation's leader.
A terrifying moment looking back. How did he consolidate power so quickly?
He was incredibly effective at first. He promised jobs, a strong military, a return to national pride, and initially things did seem to improve for many Germans. People started trusting him. Some even called him a hero. Germany looked strong again on the surface.
But underneath?
Underneath, the dangerous plans, as the source calls them, were in full swing. He took control of everything. Newspapers, radio, schools. Propaganda was everywhere, drilling the message. Only believe in Adolf Hitler.
And dissent wasn't tolerated.
Not at all. Anyone who spoke out faced severe punishment, imprisonment, or worse. He created the SS, his brutal paramilitary force, and the Hitler Youth to indoctrinate children. The swastika wasn't just a party symbol anymore. It was everywhere, a symbol of total control.
His speeches must have been something else during this period.
Even more powerful, more aggressive. Declarations like, "Germany is the best, we will rule the world." Crowds roaring, "Heil Hitler." It was a cult of personality built on nationalism and fear.
And this consolidation of power, this aggressive rhetoric, it was all leading somewhere specific.
It was leading to war. In 1939, he made his boldest move yet. He ordered the invasion of Poland.
Which started World War II.
Exactly. His dream, it seems, had morphed into conquering Europe, establishing German dominance.
And initially, his military was very successful.
Very. The German army was strong, well-trained, employed new tactics like blitzkrieg. They swept across much of Europe. It looked like he might actually achieve his goal.
But things started to go wrong.
They did. As the source says, Adolf had made too many enemies. The war widened, becoming a global conflict. The initial successes couldn't be sustained against the combined might of the Allies.
And during the war, he unleashed something even darker.
Yes. While Europe burned, he enacted the Holocaust. His systematic attempt to exterminate Jewish people and other groups he deemed unworthy, Roma, disabled people, political opponents, homosexuals.
One of the darkest chapters in human history.
Unimaginably horrific. Millions upon millions of innocent people murdered in concentration and extermination camps. It's a crime almost beyond comprehension.
So the war is raging, the Holocaust is ongoing, but militarily things are turning against him.
By 1944, definitely. Germany was losing battles on multiple fronts. The U.S., the Soviet Union, Britain, the Allies were proving too strong. Bombs were falling on German cities.
And the mood in Germany shifted.
Hope turned to despair. People who once cheered him began to lose faith. Some even turned against him, though resistance was incredibly dangerous. Adolf himself reportedly became more and more paranoid, isolated.
Hiding in his bunker.
Yes, spending most of his final months deep underground in his bunker beneath Berlin, trusting almost no one.
What were those final days like, according to the source?
Early 1945. Cold, dark, cramped. The Soviet army was closing in on Berlin street by street. Yet he refused to surrender.
He's still defiant.
Utterly. He was surrounded by his most loyal followers and his longtime companion, Eva Braun.
Wow.
His mindset even then was chilling. He apparently said something like, if Germany loses, it is because the people were not strong enough.
Blaming the nation for his own failure, right to the end.
It seems so. A complete refusal to accept responsibility.
Then a very strange event, just days before the end.
Yes. Quite surreal. On April 29th, 1945, with Berlin collapsing around them, he married Eva Braun in the bunker. A very small ceremony.
And the very next day.
April 30th, 1945. He made his final decision. He told his inner circle he wouldn't be captured alive. He and Eva Braun went into a private room.
And they took their own lives.
They did. Cyanide, and he also shot himself, reportedly. He was 56 years old.
What happened immediately after?
Their bodies were taken outside, partially burned, as per his instructions. Soviet soldiers found the remains shortly after they stormed the Chancellery area.
In Germany.
Germany surrendered unconditionally just days later on May 8, 1945. The war in Europe was over, leaving behind, as the source says, nothing but ruins.
The cost was immense.
Millions and millions dead. Cities destroyed, a continent traumatized, all stemming from the choices and actions of this one man and the regime he built.
The world then had to rebuild, physically and morally.
Yes. Germany itself eventually became a peaceful, democratic nation. And the memory of the Holocaust, of the war, became a global imperative never again. Lessons had to be learned.
So wrapping this up, we've covered the sweep of Adolf Hitler's life, a story that undeniably changed the world forever. Dreams, power, and ultimately catastrophic mistakes.
And the ultimate lesson, I think, that comes through from the source material is about choices. Every decision we make shapes our future. Looking at Hitler's life, his choices driven by resentment, hate, lust for power had consequences on an unimaginable scale.
It really underscores how individual actions ripple outwards.
Absolutely. It's a powerful, if grim, reminder that every action, no matter how small, matters. We see the devastating impact when hate and division are chosen over compassion and unity. It really pushes us to think about how we can create a future filled with hope, not regret.
A crucial takeaway. History isn't just dates and events in the past. It really does teach us how to try and build a better future.
Indeed. The final thought, perhaps, is that stark choice. Choose love over hate, humility over pride, and always, always unity over division.